Hello, everyone, and welcome on into OneSoccer.ca. Andy Petrillo, Oliver Platt, Gareth Wheeler. We have an exciting tournament that is beginning this week right here on One Soccer in partnership as well with CBC Sports. Gentlemen, it is the CONCACAF W Championship. This is where the women can qualify for the 2023 World Cup, 2024 Olympics, as well as the inaugural Gold Cup. That will also be a tournament that the women will now be able to participate in too. So the top 4 teams will qualify for the World Cup. Only the winner will automatically qualify for the Olympics. However, second and third place will go into a playoff team with the chance to earn that spot, the other spot to go to Paris 2024. And gentlemen, we've seen the Canadian women already this season. They've played in a couple celebration tour games. They've also played in some friendlies. And in their last 2, recent friendlies, so they took on Nigeria. That was a 2-2 draw. And then just the other week, they played against South Korea, and that was to a 0-0 draw. Both of those were home games. They were expected to win those games. So based on their current form, Ollie, I'll start with you. Any cause for concern for the Olympic champions?
No, I don't think so. Not yet. I think it's, you can't avoid the fact that in April they didn't play great against South Korea. Thought they were okay, but they can certainly play better than that. But what it comes back to for me is, as we enter real meaningful games, is that every time since Bev Priestman has taken over, Canada has played in meaningful games. Canada has delivered. And I think the players and the coach have earned a degree of trust by this point. When you look back over the past couple of years, that they'll deliver again at this tournament and do what they need to do. We saw it very, very, very early on at the She Believes Cup. I thought was a massive improvement over what we'd seen over the past couple of years before Bev Priestman took over. We saw it in the friendly against England last year. We saw it at the Arnold Clark Cup earlier this year. And of course, we saw it at the Olympics where Canada wins gold, obviously. So as far as I'm concerned, this team has earned a degree of trust that, okay, if they play a bad friendly, the sky doesn't need to be falling down, and they're going to go into a tournament ready to deliver. And I think they will. I think they have what it takes to do what they need to do here and to potentially win this tournament.
No cause for concern for me whatsoever. They are the Olympic champions. That bodes well. They're still very difficult to score on. Defensively, probably not a more sound team in this tournament. I also look at the United States and the players who are not playing in this tournament, who were part of the U.S. squad at the 2020 Summer Olympics. Dunn, Sam Ewis, Keith, Ertz, Lloyd, Press, Delkemper, Macario, Williams. That's just the start of the list. Those are some big players, some players with a lot of experience as well, not part of this U.S. team. Canada brings back really the core of that group that won that gold medal. I'm firm on this, Andy. Canada should be considered the favorite to go on and win this tournament. And the W, by the way, wheels up, wheels up.
I thought you were going to say it was for winners.
Not win, yeah. I thought
exactly.
Win
It has to be about
wheels up, women, all that good stuff.
Would you
when it comes to Andy whining, yeah.
Listen. I cannot deny that, because before we hop on every show, we should have a segment. I know it's a Family Guy segment, but we should have what's grinding Andy's gears today.
Yes.
Would you consider, Gareth, that the world ranking for the Canadian women, which is 6th, is that generous or not high enough?
Let's go 3 bears here. It's just, what is it? It's just about
too hard,
right.
Too soft, just right.
It's just about right. I mean, I look at the two teams right behind Canada. 7 is Spain, 8 is England. I think that Canada is right in that mix with those two teams. Take your pick, which one should be rated right around that part. So, anywhere from 5 to 8, I'm fine with that as an accurate ranking for the Canadian women.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really care, to be honest with you, about the world rankings. I think that I think it's about right. I think you have to appreciate that teams like the USA, France, and so on have been competing for World Cups on a consistent basis. Canada isn't quite there yet, but they have an Olympic gold medal, so they certainly deserve to be well placed in the top 10, which they are.
I should try that again. Just about right.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I'm thinking? You're loving that it's just about right that Adriana Leon is now a Red Devil, by the way. The announcement just made as we were hopping on to do this show that she has signed with Manchester United, becoming the first Canadian woman or I should say the first Canadian national team player, because yes, Owen Hargreaves, technically born in Calgary, did play for Manchester United, but on the international stage, he always represented England. Either way, this is massive for Adriana Leon, whose contract expired with West Ham. So she stays in the Women's Super League. She stays in England, but now she's playing for a storied franchise. And perhaps she will be a name you guys mention here in my next question, because we know that if we're looking at Bev Priestman's best 11, you have this idea that Christine St. Clair is going to be a starter. We know she was dealing with a knock and didn't play against South Korea, but she'll be your starter. And Janine Becky, especially on that right flank, has been there. But if we're looking at that third forward, who could be there? Who's that other player? Jordan Heidema, as we know, in their last qualifier in 2020 for the Olympics, won the Golden Boot. She scored 7 goals in that one. By the way, Adriana Leon had scored 4. But who is that player for you? Who would be that third player, Ollie, to play with Christine St. Clair and Janine Becky?
Nichelle Prince right now. I think all 3 Olympic knockout games, it was Prince, Becky, Sinclair, with Deanne Rose usually used as the first sub, and Rose was very impactful off the bench, as we remember. And I just haven't really seen anything over the past year that changes my opinion that that's still the strongest front 3 for Canada, and maybe even the 4th option in Rose as well. I think we've seen glimpses of good things from Leon, from Heitema, from Chloe Lacasse even, I think has done decently since she's come into the squads. I think all of those players have a role to play. I just don't think anyone's performed to such a level that they've supplanted what has been kind of Bev Priestman's established front 3 in the big games so far. So that's still the trio for me. I think you have to think about it as well in terms of who's playing fullback, who's playing in midfield, how do all those things work together? You can't just see it in isolation, and there's probably some bigger questions there, which we'll get to in a minute. But for me, that's the front 3 that still looks like the strongest combo for Canada.
What about the new United player in Adriana Leon? Because if you're going to think who plays best down the left-hand side, wouldn't that be Adriana? Wouldn't she be the most natural fit? A player that has scored goals. She's scored, 23 goals. She's top 10 all time in terms of scoring, in terms of women's goals for Canada. So I think that's a player, right in her prime as well. I think that she can be a distinct difference maker. And obviously at this tournament back in 2020, I mean, the tournament was a lot different, but Jordan Heidema was the Golden Boot winner in that tournament. And I think we're waiting for the breakout against the biggest and brightest and best. Heidema and her contributions will not be judged upon what she does in the group stage, but it's about, once you get on to playing Mexico or potentially the United States, whether she can be a true difference maker in those games. So, and who knows how fit Christine St. Clair is in. Is she an out and out number 9 right now? I don't think so. I think that there's some question about how that front 3 or 4 will look like and how they work in tandem, right? And whether those wing players are relied upon to get in behind the back line and Sinclair checking, dropping a little bit deeper. I don't think it's that straightforward, but Bev Priestman has a number of different players that play in a different way. So I think that it matters that, when it comes to the opponent and the occasion.
Well, speaking of Bev Priestman, I mean, it's obvious she was brilliant. Her coaching at the Olympics, we had her on the show as well, and she said she also wanted to go in and be the best at substitutions, and she nailed it, especially in that Olympic gold medal game as well. Not being afraid to make substitutions early and at half, that obviously made a difference, and they went on to win. So here's the thing: you win, and it creates this shield around you, right, where everyone just loves you, and you can do no wrong for a while, or even if you do, you get the benefit of the doubt because, again, you have reached a pretty high pinnacle for your country. So having said that, do you think the Olympic gold medal, Ollie, makes Bev Priestman impervious to criticism? Or do you think if this tournament ends up being a flop, that it doesn't matter that they won the Olympic gold?
Well, no one's impervious to criticism. Like, I think it makes her job safe, right? Like, she has a ton of credit in the bank, and rightly so, because I think not just at the Olympics, but overall, she's done a very good job. She's overseen the progress of this team over the past couple of years. I don't think that means, I would say this about any coach, and if they won 10 titles, if they have a bad season or a bad tournament and they get things wrong, they're going to get criticism, and that's part of the game. But I think confidence is high in Bev Priestman, and I think it should be. Again, it comes down to me to the big matches where they need to deliver. She's not going to be judged on a friendly against South Korea or Nigeria at the end of the day. She's going to be judged on what her team produces at the tournaments, right? And at the kind of bigger friendly matches, if you call them that, in the She Believes Cup, the Arnold Clark Cup, those kinds of things. And Canada's record under Bev Priestman in those bigger games continues to me to look very, very good. So when they play the friendlies, there's rotation in the team, there's experimentation. It's not always the best version of Canada that we see in those games, but when the time comes to deliver, they have done over the past couple of years.
Yeah, what is there to criticize right now? I mean, there's things that we always put in the suggestion box, and we have questions in terms of the way that they play and the way that players are used. But she knows this team better than anyone else, and she rode this team and pulled the right strings and made the right changes to go on and win an Olympic gold medal, something that Canada had never done. Like it was an historic summer last year, right? Like this is, I don't know why any knives would be out, but of course, sports, the nature of it is, what have you done for me lately? And she'll be judged. Like, look, the only way that some severe questions are asked is if they don't get out of the group and they don't qualify. If they somehow absolutely capitulate before our eyes in this group stage, there'll be questions. But other than that, I think that the Canadian public is well read about what this Canadian women's team is and is not right now. And I think that the side will be assessed fairly and accurately based upon that.